Belichick. Guys, the fallout of the Belichick 72-year-old relationship with the 24-year-old after that disastrous CBS News interview is continuing. And I got to say, it really makes me wonder if Belichick has lost his fastball. Now, some of you out there, and I understand, you're like, let the man date whoever he wants. And I am actually in that camp. I think if you want to be as adults in a consenting relationship, I don't really have any issue with an age gap. Okay? I am 46 years old right now. My wife is basically the same age as me. I've been married for almost 21 years. So I'm not really in this category. But if you wanted to date somebody who was 20 years younger than you, 30 years younger, whatever can make you happy, I'm all about. But here is where I think this is a story worthy of talking about. Two fronts. One, Bill Belichick's entire coaching career prior to now was all about only football. The guy is legendary for not caring about anything social media, for not caring about anything external noise. If he were asked questions in his press conferences that he did not want to address, he would give one-word answers. He would show up in the hoodie, cut off sleeves. He clearly did not want anything to be a distraction other than his football team focused on the game. That was the entirety of what he wanted to be the story. I would love to interview Bill Belichick. I would happily travel anywhere for a long-form conversation with him. Let me just put that out clearly. But the way that he is behaving right now is the antithesis as UNC's coach as how he handled being the Patriots coach. I never knew anything about his relationships. I never knew anything about his off-the-field life. There was never pictures of him with a pretty girl or pictures of him with anybody from my life that I recall other than football itself. That's point one. So he is behaving differently as North Carolina's coach than he behaved as the Patriots coach. That is 100% fair, which makes me wonder, has he lost his coaching fastball? 72 years old. Most people don't have the same fire at 72 that they did at 32 or 42 or 52. Nick Saban just stepped down at 75 years old. Now, maybe you could say, hey, being with a 24-year-old is proof he's still got plenty of fire. And that could well be the case. But right now, Bill Belichick College, Chapel Bill, is very different than what we saw in New England. I think that's important. Second part here. You can't criticize the media for asking questions about your relationship when your relationship is put front and center as a reason people should be caring about you on social media. This reminds me somewhat of Meghan and Harry in the formerly royal family, arguing that they needed privacy while constantly demanding as much media attention as could possibly occur. Okay? Don't do a reality television show. Don't do multiple reality television shows and then complain that the media is covering you too much. It feels to me like Belichick and this Jordan Carter, is that her name? This 24-year-old are pulling a Harry and Meghan here where they are demanding that you pay attention to their relationship all the time. And then when you ask questions about it, getting angry that you are asking questions about it. Jordan Hudson. What in the world is going on here? So I think all of this coverage is completely fair. And I don't think there's any reason or ability that they should have to be able to complain. And now we got new letters that are coming out and all these other different things. I don't think the media has been unfair at all. Belichick has made this an issue. When she's physically present at the interview, it would be crazy not to be asking her, not to be asking about her. That's a big part of Belichick's story now.
Make sure that that's the...
Jordan was a constant presence during our interview.
You have Jordan right over there. Everybody in the world seems to be following this relationship. They've got an opinion about your private life. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No?
No.
It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on.
All right. General rule, if your sweatshirt is older than the girl that you are dating, you may have made a really intriguing and hard to defend decision when it comes to your relationship. That ridiculous navy sweatshirt that Belichick is wearing, I bet is older than his girlfriend is. But what in the world is going on here? 72-year-old Belichick, I believe, 24-year-old girlfriend. He's the coach at UNC. Why is he not in UNC garb for this interview? But for her to decide that she's going to cut the interview topic off and that they're not going to address it is, I think, indicative of how little she understands about the way that these interviews take place. First of all, you can't publicize your relationship all of the time and then say, we're not going to talk about that when you're doing a sit-down interview. You made the choice to have her as the mermaid and Bill Belichick reeling her in, which was a mega viral post. You then had Belichick laying on the beach, posing, holding her up. This is something that you want to receive abundant attention for. You have her on the field in social media videos with Belichick. You have her also at recruiting events, at university-related events. You also have her getting emails and being paid in some way by the university for social media advocacy on Belichick's behalf. This is a weird situation. Now, we just talked about it on Clay and Buck. I don't have any problem with large age gaps in relationships. If people are happy, more power to them. But if one of my boys, when they are college age-ish, if I had a 24-year-old son that showed up with a 72-year-old girlfriend, I would say, nope, this is not happening. This is not going to be a reality. We're not doing Thanksgiving. We're not doing Christmas. You are making a really poor choice. I don't have daughters, but if one of my kids ever dates somebody older than me, something has gone profoundly askew. And again, I'm giving you like 25 years. I'm giving you 30 years. If Belichick, 72 years old, was dating a 42-year-old, I think most of you would be like, more power to him. If Belichick were dating a 47-year-old, I think you guys would be like, no issues at all. You can't try and draw attention to this, and then when attention is paid to it, say, oh, we're not going to talk about this. Now, some people are out there like, insulting her, all these different things. I don't have any issue with the relationship being criticized, but you can't put this out there and expect for everyone to just stay completely silent about this. It's weird. It's really super weird. Now, maybe they're going to get married and have 8 kids, and Belichick's going to live to be 120, and the relationship will go, and she'll be 70 one day when he dies, and he'll be 120, and this will be one of the great love stories of our time. I think it's unlikely. And again, I just do the basic math here. In 10 years, Belichick's going to be 82. Most 82-year-olds are in pretty feeble condition. She'll be 34. It gets weirder the more age that you add on. And so I feel like somebody should have spoken out to Belichick, like his kids. Somebody needs to sit him down and be like, dude, what is going on here? This is nonsensical. The fallout continues to be a mess for everyone involved in the Bill Belichick interview. North Carolina has now issued a statement on Bill Belichick's CBS interview, and it reads as follows. I agreed to speak with CBS Sunday Morning to promote my new book. Prior to the interview, I clearly communicated with my publicist any promotional interview I did would focus solely on the contents of the book. Unfortunately, wasn't honored. Unrelated topics were introduced. And then this Jordan, what's her name again? Jordan Hudson, the 24-year-old girlfriend, interjects. And when he's asked, some of the clips make it appear as though we were avoiding the question of how we met. We've been open about the fact that Jordan and I met on a flight to Palm Beach in 2021. The final 8-minute segment does not reflect the productive 35-minute conversation we had, which covered a wide range of topics. Instead, it presents selectively edited clips, stills from just a few minutes of the interview to suggest a false narrative that Jordan was attempting to control the conversation, which is simply not true. Okay. Look, my advice, leave aside Belichick and everybody else. If you want the entire interview that you do to be public, you need to do a show like this with me, or you need to go do a podcast. The entire conversation is carried there. I don't know why people don't understand that in an interview that, for instance, CBS does or 60 Minutes does or whoever it is, they edit all of those conversations. They do not air the full conversation. This is the fight that Trump's having with 60 Minutes over Kamala Harris. They won't even put out, typically, a full transcript. We do not do edited conversations. I do not do, hey, I'll come on, but I won't talk about X or Y interviews. I don't believe I have ever done an interview with preconditions in the history of my entire interview career, and I've interviewed a lot of people. Nobody has ever said, hey, we'll do it, but you can't ask about X or you can't ask about Y. I wouldn't do an interview in that context. I have turned them down. Back when I used to do OutKick the coverage, my producer, Danny G, he'll remember sometimes athletes or coaches would say, hey, we'll come on, but just so you know, we don't want to talk about it. I was like, well, why would I have you on and not ask you about the topics that everybody who is listening to us would want me to ask you about? I won't do the interview. So my suspicion is that whoever was involved in marketing did not actually talk to the guy doing the interview, and that he never agreed, hey, I'm not going to ask you questions about any of this. Also, when your girlfriend shows up and sits on the side of the interview and is in any way involved in the interview, I think you open yourself up to answering questions about what's going on during the course of the interview. If my wife showed up for one of my interviews and decided during the middle of the interview to come interject herself into the conversation and say, we're not going to answer that question, she would become a part of the story. If there are people off to the side that interrupt an interview that I'm conducting and the camera's rolling, I'm going to show that. So this is on, to me, Belichick and his team. Also, why does Belichick need attention? He wrote a book. He is requesting publicity for the book. Why? Did nobody sit down with Belichick and say, hey, dude, if you write a book, given the fact that you have a 24-year-old girlfriend, a huge part of the topic surrounding your book is going to be your current lifestyle, which is what people are talking about. And so nobody is just going to focus on the four corners of the book. And anyone telling you that that is likely to occur doesn't understand what they are saying. I'm going to have a new book out in November. That new book is going to have, hundreds of pages of my writing. But also every promotional interview that I do for that book is not going to focus entirely on the four corners of the book. I'm going to get asked a ton of questions that have nothing to do with what I put in the book. It would be crazy for me to say, hey, I'm writing a book and I'm expecting that if I had a personal life like Bill Belichick does, that nobody would be asking about it at all. Does that make sense? So I think this has turned into a huge embarrassment for North Carolina. As I said yesterday on the show, Belichick was the ultimate football-focused coach. All he cared about for his entire career as the Patriots coach was the game itself and answering questions about the game. I get it. But when you start having the social media profile that he does, when you dress up and pretend that you are fishing and pulled in a mermaid and it's your 24-year-old girlfriend, when you're laying on the beach and you are using your feet to hold her up in some sort of pose, to then argue, oh, I'm not going to answer any questions about my relationship with her, when she's sitting next to the interview, I'm sorry, I don't know how you have any complaint at all. Do you not understand how the media works? If you want to I've said it before, I'll say it again. Bill Belichick, I will sit and talk with you for as long as you want to talk. I'll read your book. I'll cover everything under the sun with you, but I'm not going to do an interview with you if you're saying, hey, I'm happy to come on, but I'll only talk about these subjects. And I doubt that anybody at CBS News is agreeing to that either, because frankly, everybody knows Belichick's coaching history. Why is that an interesting 8-minute conversation?